Barrett. In Canada, this week is Mental Health Week. We spend a lot of time talking about our physical health and our financial health, but we don't spend nearly enough time talking and caring for our mental health. The pandemic has created unprecedented levels of stress and anxiety. How are you? No, really, how are you? No doubt we're all stressed, we're having a tough time, we're anxious, we're confused, we're sad, we're mad. There's too much going on. Our kids are frustrated, they're at home with online school. Parents are having a tough time helping their kids with online school and working from home. We're all wearing multiple hats, we're not getting enough sleep, we're not eating well, we're having a tough time. And it's okay to say that we're having a tough time. The pandemic is hard. It's really hard, and it's okay to say that it's hard, and it's okay to ask for help. This is the 70th annual Mental Health Week, and I am in support of the great work that the Canadian Mental Health Association is doing to bring light, to get rid of the stigma, and to offer support when it comes to mental health. They've launched a campaign called #GetReal. It's about how you feel. Add a name to it, don't numb it. #GetReal. Let us know how you feel. Joining us today is Stephanie Brown, an educator with the Peel District School Board.
Hi, everyone.
Mental health, this is a very important conversation. It's important to talk about the stigma that surrounds mental health. It's important to shift societal beliefs and attitudes around mental health. It's important to promote positive behaviors and attitudes about what we can do for our own mental health, our loved ones, and the kids in our family. It's important to also recognize that good mental health doesn't always mean that you're happy. Good mental health is on the continuum. It's okay not to feel great and happy all the time. That is actually healthy. A recent survey by the Canadian Mental Health Association found that 77% of adults felt stressed and anxious and not really motivated during the pandemic. 77%. Are you one of the 77? Had we done the same study on kids and students, I wonder what that number would be. Joining us today is Stephanie Brown. She is an educator and she is frontline and working with the youth. Stephanie is with the Peel District School Board. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So let's start. How are you feeling? How are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? How are you doing?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say an 8.
Okay,
An
8. So
Yeah.
tell us, mental health in the schools, what are you seeing? And tell us about yourself.
Well, I work with the Peel District School Board, as you said. I work for a middle school, school-wide, grade 6, 7, and 8. And, since the pandemic, these students have had it really difficult from being online and being back in the classroom to being back online to being back in the classroom. So they haven't really had structure in terms of, just being in the classroom and just regularly interacting with other students. So it's really taken a toll on their own mental health and, how they deal with their day-to-day lives.
Now, is this something that educators and teachers are prepared to deal with in the school system? What advice or strategies are you offering the young people that are in the schools?
Well, prior to the pandemic, we had Big Brother, Big Sister, we had Girl Talk, Boy Talk, we had these groups that these kids were able to utilize. And because of the pandemic and because, these kids are not allowed to interact with other students, you have to stay in your own bubble, it's really impacted them in terms of their own mental health and how they live. So like what the groups that we have now, I would say that we still do have, like for me, I work in student services. So my portion online is still student services in terms of still supporting these kids in terms of getting their work done, just having a conversation, checking in with them. because sometimes there's some students that I do come across that keep things in. They don't let you know what's going on. So sometimes it's very hard to build that connection with students being online. Um, but yes, we support services, like I said, Big Brother, Big Sister, Girl Chat, Boy Chat. Those are the groups that we have in school. And then online, it's more so me and the guidance counselor, and we just do check-ins. We have a list of students that we do check-ins with that we know that especially need those check-ins.
Okay,
Um,
so that makes sense. So I'm just trying to think back to when I was in grade 6, 7, and 8. I
mhm,
remember, we'd get up early, we'd go to school, you pack your lunch, you got all your great classes, you've got art, you've got language, you've got English, you've got gym, you're with your friends, you're giggling in the cafeteria, you're going to dance class after. You're
mhm,
social, you're having fun, you're learning, you're in class, you're developing skills and confidence and
mhm.
just being exposed to all sorts of things. I can't imagine what it's like to have all of that removed. The whole routine of getting up and getting dressed and packing your lunch and going to school and being face to face and interacting. It's hard. So it's
Yeah.
hard as a student, and it's also hard as a teacher or an educator. So how are you personally managing? Like, how do you deal with the stress and the anxiety and manage your mental health?
Well, I think for me, when it comes to my own mental health, I do, self-care in terms of, putting my phone away, putting my laptop away, just having some me time, whether that be working out. I work out 45 minutes every single day. Having a conversation, whether that be with a family member or a friend, just to check in, let them know how I'm doing. Um, but I think it's really important for people to do check-ins to make sure that they are okay, because, you know, depression is on the rise because of the pandemic. And it's just really important to be aware of how you are feeling and how you are treating others or how you are coming off to others. So for me, like I said, it's more so working out and having conversations with my family and friends just to make sure that my own mental health is okay, so that the work that I'm doing with the school board can have a positive impact on my students.
Okay, so pandemic aside, let's go back to the last 14 or 15 months. Did you find there was a lot of mental health issues with your students? So you're talking about grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. So before
Yeah,
the
most
pandemic
definitely.
and
I think more so, in terms of mental health, I think when it comes to the Black and minority students, I would say that, you know, it's very high when it comes to mental health issues.
okay, that's
And I
interesting.
think
So you're
that's,
saying for Black and minority students, you found that they had higher levels of mental health issues
yes,
than their friends
yes,
that were not Black or of a minority. Now, I think that's
yes.
interesting. Can you give me some more on that? Why do you think there was more of a mental health issue?
Well, for example, I come from the Caribbean community, right? And a lot of the students that I work with come from the Caribbean community and are raised in this mentality that, you know, there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly fine. You don't need to talk about your feelings. So it's just like, it's really unfortunate that, from I myself was raised in that type of community. So it's really important that we, break that mold and let these kids know that it's super important for them to speak and let educators know or let someone know how you're feeling, because it's so important that we are raising the next generation. So it's so important for them to be able to express themselves and to be able to let people know, hey, I'm feeling this way. I need to talk to someone. I need help or I need assistance.
Okay, so what does it manifest? How does it manifest? What does it look like when you were in school with the kids? What does mental health look like with your students? How are they? Are they really
Um,
withdrawn, or how can you sense if someone needs some help?
uh, so when I would say in the classroom setting, it's like I said, I work in student services. So I'll have students that'll come down to student services and let me know, hey, Miss Brown, I'm not feeling well. I want to have a conversation. This is what's going on. But there's more so times where kids just they won't do their work, or they'll be withdrawn, or they won't play with friends, or, you know, so something along the lines of that. So
You know,
it's
I think it's so sad. I truly have such great memories of being in school, elementary school, high school. School was a great time and a great experience for me. And I can't imagine how difficult it must be for some kids in grade 6 and grade 7 and 8. That's young. You're probably still a preteen. Those were like
yeah, it,
the dances, and you're having fun, you're playing games, you're sleeping over, you're going to camp, you're doing fun things. I can't imagine what it would be like to not be able to experience that or just have good times and good experiences. What advice do you have for parents? So if you're a parent at home and everyone's dealing with homeschooling and it's really difficult, what advice do you have for parents who are, doing their best to keep their children's mental health healthy?
well, one thing I would say is that check in with your child. You know, ask them questions. You know, how are you doing? How was school? Let's go for a walk. Let's talk. You know, it's so important to check in with your children and to make sure that they are mentally okay. You know, I think that when it comes to, for example, being on social media is huge. It's a big platform,
Yeah.
and every single student has some type of social media account, whether that be Instagram, TikTok,
Yep.
Snapchat. They have it, you know, and they see everyone living this life,
Yep.
and it's like, okay, well, I want to be like them, or I want to look like them, and that causes them to hate themselves. And I've had students that has like, because of that, it's caused them to hate themselves and to be withdrawn, to go into depression. So it's so important to check in with your child to, you know what, let them know it's okay to feel this way. And because it's okay to feel this way, we are going to seek help and we're going to get you help. But it's so important to have a conversation. Ask them, do you know what mental health is? If it's a yes, okay, this is what it is. If you are feeling this way, let me know. It's so important. We are raising the next generation.
Yeah.
So it's so important for us
So
to do.
I feel like today's generation, they're very vocal. They seem very opinionated and not afraid to express themselves. So are you saying
Yeah,
that you've observed that when it comes to this area of their health, they're more reserved and more quiet. They're not speaking up and they want to be heard,
depending on the community.
depending on the
Depending
community.
on, yes, depending on the community. And I think that depending on the community and depending on the parent. And I'm only speaking based off of what I've seen. And I
Yeah.
think that, you know, within the Black community, I think that it sometimes can be difficult for students to express how they feel depending on, you know, the background that they come from. So I think that, you know, more can be done and within, you know, our community to uplift, you know, these kids.
So I remember when I was younger, we weren't on social media like today's generation's on social media. So there wasn't that pressure. You're not keeping up with everyone. You're not always comparing yourself to everybody else. But I remember there weren't a lot of our guidance counselors weren't dealing with those sort of issues. There was more like, what
No.
do you want to be when you grow up, and these are the courses you need to take, and how do I help you progress and get your marks up. There wasn't a
Mhm.
lot of counseling or tell me how you're feeling or pointing you in the right direction. And
Mhm.
Kids Help Phone was around at that time, but there still
Mhm.
wasn't mental health wasn't something we talked about like we're talking
Yeah.
about it now. Like
Yeah.
in preparing for this show, I did not even realize that Mental Health Week, this is its 70th year. 70 years in which this organization has been promoting and advocating and trying to erase the stigma that is felt by people who are dealing with mental health, who just need some support or need an outlet or need someone to talk to or help them continue on their journey.
Mhm.
Growing up, this isn't something that was widely talked about in our family, and I didn't see a lot of um, people of color in as a therapist or as a psychologist or as a psychiatrist or a counselor. So I can imagine for people in different racialized communities, not seeing someone who looks like you may be one reason why people aren't going out for help as much as they are. Has that changed? Do you see more of a diverse pool of health and wellness professionals where people of all backgrounds can go and speak to?
That's the thing. So my thing is representation matters. It matters so much. It matters for other students of your background to see, you know what, hey, so and so is doing that, then hey, maybe I can do that too. So yes, representation does matter. And yes, I think that within this community, I have seen a lot of, improvement in terms of representation. Sorry. For me, like I said, I work in student services. You know, um, people that come in from Big Brother and Big Sister are of the Black minority group. So yeah, I have seen a huge wide door that is open for people of minority and Black community that work in these fields where students can reach out to.
Okay, good. All right, let's end it there. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
This is not your regular show. It is an interactive section powered by the masses.
Why you go to Nigeria? You wake up, you go come. I just said now, I don't go to Nigeria.
Where we discuss issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. Slices of humor to keep you entertained and thrilled. We are the GPKM Street Talk Team.
Welcome back to 360 Wellness. I'm your host, Andrea Barrett, and today we are speaking with Stephanie Brown, an educator with the Peel District School Board. So Stephanie, before the break, we were talking about how young people now are dealing with mental health issues, and you talked about representation matters. Let's pick up on that. What do you mean when we're talking about representation matters?
I'm going to use myself as an example. So I grew up in the Peel region, and when I was growing up, I didn't see any teachers that looked like me. I didn't see any guidance counselors or social workers that looked like me. So I didn't really have any, I'm going to use the word role model. I didn't have any role models to look up to because everywhere I go was, it was somebody else that did not look like me. So, now being older, I realize that, it's so important for young Black kids or young minority kids to be around somebody or be around an educator or a teacher or social worker that looks like them, because it's like, okay, well, wow, Miss Brown works for the school board and she's doing this and she's doing that, then maybe, hey, then I can do that too. And that doesn't even go for the education field. That goes for doctors and nurses and police officers. So I think it's so important. Yes, representation does matter. It does matter because you know what? These kids that we are raising, the next generation, they need to see people that look like them. They do, because it's like, if not, who are they going to look up to? So representation does matter. 100% it does.
I'm with you, 100%. Representation matters. We need to be in every industry, holding every position, in every part of the healthcare system and every part of the political system, demonstrating to everyone in society who we are and what we are doing. It's important for, like you said, the next generation to see that the sky is the limit. They could do anything. And to see that it's okay to ask for help. If they see a therapist, a psychologist, a guidance counselor that looks like them or that can relate to them. I think it's also important, if you don't necessarily look like me, that you understand me and that you can relate to me. I think that is so important. So I want to talk about some coping strategies. So here we are in May 2021. We're still in a lockdown. What are you doing? How are you practicing self-care? And what advice or tips do you have for our viewers?
Over my own self-care, I think that even just going for a walk, a half-hour walk, helps. It really does. Being outside, being one with nature, if you want to call it that, it really does help with your mental health. So for me, my coping is, I like to go outside. I go for a walk or I'll go for a run. I work out. Reading a book, having a conversation with a loved one or a friend. And there are also other services that are available online. there are free services available online, 24/7, where you can call and talk to a counselor or talk to a social worker and let them know how you're feeling. So there are so many services that are available within Peel and within the Toronto region as well, that are available for students and for adults that need to seek assistance when it comes to their mental health.
Agreed. So have you detached, or do you find yourself unplugging from social media? Is your phone, do you sleep, is your phone on your nightstand? And do you
No.
ever detach or unplug?
I do, but for me, when it comes to my devices, I work online. I do school online, work and school online.
Mhm.
So I'm online all day.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like my sleep pattern, I don't sleep with my phone. I don't sleep with my laptop. I put it away. I need me time, So I do detach,
Yeah.
I come, but by come 9:30, my phone's away.
Yeah,
So,
good.
yeah,
That's
detaching
advice.
is important.
That is great advice that I'd give to lots of people. I find that people aren't unplugging. They're attached to their devices, which is affecting their posture. We're always like this. We need to pull our shoulders back and put the phone down, put the iPad down, put the tablet down, put the laptop down. We need to change our gaze and start looking at different things. I know that after this pandemic, unfortunately, there'll be another pandemic of health concerns, our posture, our vision. We'll need to see a chiropractor. We'll need lots of massage therapy because of the way we are interacting currently. How has your sleep been, and how has your diet changed? Why are you
Wow.
laughing?
In terms of diet, I think everyone has gotten the COVID-15,
Yeah.
the 15 pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think at the beginning of the pandemic, we were all home, so all I did was eat. And a couple of months, I looked in the mirror, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had gained weight.
Yeah.
So I took that. It really affected me. So I started working out and eating healthy. As terms for my sleep, I sleep 8 hours. I try to sleep 8 hours a night, but because of work, it's usually sometimes 6 or 7.5 hours. So my sleep's okay, but I was picking out during the first half.
You weren't the only one. Listen, we
quarantine.
all had, some of us still have bad eating habits, but as
Yeah.
long as you can admit that and you're learning to make small changes, incrementally as we go along. So give us one of your wellness tips. So when it comes to what your diet is or what you're eating, give us a tip. What are you doing now that you weren't doing before?
I eat a lot of, I was doing it before, I just wasn't doing it as much. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetable. I love hummus and carrots.
Yes.
I do a shake in the morning with mixed berries, banana, almond milk.
Nice.
Regular almond milk, not the vanilla. With
And
like
why is that? Why not the vanilla?
It's added sugar.
Thank you for everyone paying attention. What Stephanie said was read the labels on your
Oh my gosh.
your dairy-free beverages or your dairy beverages. Look at the sugar. Anything flavored probably has some kind of sugar or sweetener to
Yeah.
it. But
And
I
you
digress.
touched
Keep
on-
going.
You touched on something. It's so important to read the labels.
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty in the front, and then when you turn it around at the back, it's like a huge education system. So important to read the labels.
Right.
So all these, sugars are sneaked in. You don't read the labels. But I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm there in the kitchen with you. I see the blender. I see the dairy-free milk, and you got some berries in there. What else is in this? What sounds like a pretty delicious smoothie.
Flaxseed.
Nice.
I will put like some spinach and just have that for breakfast.
Nice.
But yeah, I think this pandemic has really made me realize how important it is to stay healthy. And when I say healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and what I put in my system healthy. So it's made me realize it's so important to be self-aware and how you are treating your own body.
Yeah, I like that. Being self-aware. Okay, your smoothie sounds great. I'm going to come over for breakfast. It sounds pretty good. She puts flax seeds in there. So I want to talk about some coping strategies. So here are some tips for young people, older people. These are tips for anyone looking for strategies, tips and techniques on how to deal with mental health, how to care and support yourself. Self-care is so important. Let's talk about getting enough sleep. You heard Stephanie say that she gets roughly 8 hours. Making sure that you get enough sleep. You go to bed when you're tired. There's no race get enough rest. You will be fully functional and productive if your body is well rested. So step number 1, make sure you're getting enough sleep. Step number 2, reducing your exposure to the news. So I'm the biggest news junkie I know. The TV is on all the time, or I'm listening to something. But there's a time and a place. There's not necessarily a reason to hear news on a 24-hour cycle. Sometimes you need a break. The news right now isn't great. You don't need to hear it 24 hours a day. So take a break from, reduce your exposure to news. You also want to make sure that you're eating nutritious meals. I love when Stephanie was describing what she eats. She says she puts spinach in her smoothie. She talked about flax seeds. You want to eat, as my dad would say, a colorful diet. That plate should be reds and yellows and purples, lots and lots of color. So blueberries and raspberries and strawberries and spinach and kale and collard greens, lots, and like bell peppers, and not just green peppers. Orange peppers, yellow peppers, red peppers, lots of colorful peppers. You also want to make sure, and I love that Stephanie said this, she says she goes for a walk. You need to be, our bodies were meant to move. They weren't meant to be hunched over our phones or our tablets or our computers. We need to have our shoulders back and our head up and inhale and have great air. We need to go outside. You know, I know it's tough if you're in a small space and when the weather's bad, but if you can, lace up those shoes, go for a walk. And if you're in a building, up and down some stairs. You need to get your heart pumping, get the blood flowing. You need to be physical. Or a nice leisurely walk outside at the park, just a change of scenery. Look at the trees, look at the flowers. The tulips are blooming. Just take a look and get a change of scenery and a change of perspective. Some other tips is if you're at school or if you're at work, it's good to have a buddy, someone who you can just talk to, know there's no judgment, or be that buddy for somebody. If someone needs to talk to you for advice or just wants to share, you don't need to have a response. Sometimes people just need someone to listen to. They just want to talk. You just be there and listen. That's also important. So school buddy or work buddy. And talking to people. Texting people isn't the same as picking up the phone and talking. It's nice to hear another voice, and we're not, as a society, we do a lot of texting. We don't do as much talking as we used to. Reach out to people who are alone or isolated or shut in, people who can't go out or don't have a large circle. Reach out, see how they're doing. A simple hello can put a smile on someone's face and just brighten up their day. You also want to be genuine and acknowledge how you're feeling. There's no need to fake it for anyone. It's okay not to be okay. Journaling is great. I've seen a lot of coloring books, adult coloring books or coloring books for kids. It's okay to grab your pencil crayons or grab your crayons and put on some jazz music, brew yourself some tea, sit down and just color. Your mind will go free, it's de-stressing, it's relaxing, you're just allowing yourself to just be. So those are some tips that I wanted to share that really help with your mental health and self-care. You need to make sure that you take some time out for yourself and that you're doing nice things for yourself. I want to thank you, Stephanie Brown. I think you were wonderful. I'm a big fan of yours, so this was great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all you're doing for the kids at the Peel District School Board. I appreciate your help, and I know that everyone at that school appreciates your help as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everyone stay safe and, stay safe, stay healthy. And like I said, so important to be self-aware and, have a conversation with a loved one. So thank you so much.
So I want to leave you with some great resources because I'm encouraging everyone to reach out for help. So there's the Kid Health Phone. If you need someone to talk to, there are great people ready to listen. The Kids Help Phone, kidshelpphone.ca, 1-800-668-6868. There's also the Black Youth Helpline. You can look this up online. They're a national helpline for Black youth and their families. There's the Black Health Alliance. There's the Canadian Mental Health Association. And there's Stella's Place. So if you're in Toronto, this is the place for young adults aged 16 to 29 who are experiencing mental health challenges. They will get the support that they need. There's Taibu, Taibu Community Health Center. And if you are working, reach out to your EAP. That is your Employment Assistance Program. There are people there who can help you and point you in the right direction. You're having trouble, there's no need to go this alone. Reach out for help. There are people who want to help you. I just want to reiterate, very excited and proud to support the great work the Canadian Mental Health Association is doing with their hashtag Get Real campaign. Hashtag Get Real about how you feel, name it, don't numb it. Thank you to our guest, Stephanie Brown, and let's keep the conversation going. So visit us and support us, follow us, tweet us on social media, GBKM Network, and use the hashtag GBKM Network. Visit our website at gbkm.fm and download our app on Android and iOS. Remember, you're only one decision away from a totally different life. 360 Wellness, empowering you on your wellness journey. Stay safe.
This is not your regular show. It is an